Well, cool guys. We're in a new garage. We've filmed in my garage quite a few times, but we have not done a podcast. This is the first podcast that we've done in my garage. I got Carl Ross with me. He's a local, probably the longest shooting precision rifle competitor in the area that I'm aware of. Maybe
Yeah, other than if we count Glenn. Glenn
Yeah.
was doing it before I was,
Was
but
he?
he's been a lot less active recently.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So you like as far as experience, number of matches shot, and that I would look to you as the most experienced guy in our region, and honestly in the country, you've got a lot of experience. But yeah, I would like to. We'll jump into the precision rifle shooting and all that. But first, where'd you grow up? How'd you end up out in Montana, and how'd you get in the guns?
I grew up south of Pittsburgh on a farm in a fancy suburb, which was an interesting combination. So, like, I went to school with kids who, like, parents bought the Mercedes, but
Nice.
and my family was not that well off because we were farmers.
Nice.
But I was the kid who had a job when he was 7, so I personally had more money than the
Oh,
kids
nice.
because
Nice.
I actually worked. It was an interesting dynamic. It was
Yeah.
cool.
How big was the farm?
It wasn't giant. It was probably about 700 acres, but
Oh, cool.
pretty
big.
At the same time, there's about 300 people who worked there.
Wow.
Like, it was a significant operation. Still is a
Wow.
significant operation.
Man, that's awesome. That's a cool place to grow up.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there's other cool ways to grow up, but I liked it. Yeah.
Cool. So, and then how did you make your way out to Montana?
When I was younger, we took some ski trips, took some family summer trips out west, and I really liked the West, both the aesthetic and the culture, more than I did back east.
Yep.
And I had asked my parents about going to college out in the West, and they were paying for it, and they're like, I
cool.
don't think so.
Oh, no.
I stayed nice and close to home for college, and I graduated college, and I was like, seems like a good time to move out west.
Nice. That's awesome. So when did you graduate college?
2006
2006.
is when I moved here.
Oh, and here,
Yep.
so right after college, you moved here
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah, nice. That's awesome. Then how'd you find or I'm assuming that you probably started with guns from an early age, or?
Yeah. I was interested in guns based and precision rifle in particular, pretty much as long as I can remember.
Really?
I would probably trace it back to watching Westerns at my grandparents' house when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old, probably really before I maybe should have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when I remember getting a BB gun, was super stoked about it. I'd go lay down in the backyard and shoot groups
Really?
when I was very young.
Wow.
Like, well before I was allowed to shoot rimfire. And I
Wow.
grew up on a farm, so that was pretty young.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so you were aware of like precision at that young age, like wanting to shoot tight groups and all that.
Yeah, and I don't know, I can't say for sure that I saw that somewhere, or if I was just like, well, I want to see how well this shoots, and then I want to see if I can shoot it better. Yeah.
That's impressive because I grew up with BB guns and 22s and all that, and man, I don't know that it was until after high school that I really started thinking about the precision aspect of it. And knowing you and you have a very engineering type of brain, and it's interesting to think that you thought of that on your own back then.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
No promises.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So then when you came out west, when did you first really dive into like centerfire rifles and that?
I wasn't always only focused on precision rifle.
Okay.
I had other hobbies, dirt bikes, cars, trucks, friends, and socializing.
Yeah.
And I was super excited to start hunting. Like, that was maybe the most memorable milestone in my childhood was at
Cool.
12 years old, you're allowed to hunt
Oh, awesome.
in Pennsylvania. And I was very, very excited
Awesome.
for that moment. So I started hunting with centerfire rifles then, but none of the centerfire rifles we had fit me. And they were all like, I shot my first deer with a Remington 760 30-06
Oh, cool.
at 13, and that's not a good gun for a 13-year-old to shoot precisely. So not only was ammunition expensive and we didn't have a ton of it, but it wasn't any fun to shoot them. Around, I think it was 19, I bought my own centerfire. I bought a stainless Remington BDL 30-06.
Oh, cool.
And that was my centerfire rifle for a year or two, I really did enjoy shooting it, and I shot it a lot. And I talked my mom into getting my dad a new scope so that then he had a spare scope, and
Nice.
I confiscated that for my own rifle.
Nice.
But it was a terrible Tasco with short eye relief, and I think they sharpened the ocular. And so I scoped myself regularly and cut
man.
myself regularly.
Wow.
And it turns out I developed a giant flinch.
Mm.
I was groundhog hunting on the farm with it, but I wasn't hitting that many groundhogs because, I was having a seizure every time I pulled the trigger.
Yeah, for sure. Just the anticipation, because you're anticipating possibly
punched
getting
in the face all the time.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Were you aware of like mounting the scope further forward, or was it just the nature that was the only place it could go?
Yeah, I probably was aware, but it was not a high quality scope, and
Gotcha.
I was painted into a corner.
Gotcha.
And also I would do things like lay downhill to sight in so that everything was even closer.
Yeah,
really
for sure.
excellent decisions.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So that BDL, was it that you hunted with that for a couple of years?
I hunted with that, both deer, and it was my target shooting rifle, and groundhog hunting. And eventually, a year or two later, got a, let's see, it would have been a 700 VLS 22-250. So heavy barrel, laminate stock.
Awesome.
Much more fun to shoot, a little bit more economical to shoot, more accurate. And I hunted with that I hunted groundhogs with that for a while.
Cool.
Didn't have a rangefinder, so I was just guessing.
Yeah.
I shot a groundhog. It turns out it was at 410 yards out of my sister's bedroom window.
And how'd you figure that distance out?
Well, after I shot it, I went and borrowed a rangefinder from my uncle because he was the one person I knew who owned one.
Nice.
It was like, I shot a groundhog far away. I need to borrow your rangefinder so I know how far it was.
Nice.
Which he was supportive of. There was a bounty on groundhogs.
Oh, cool.
You could get $5 for each one.
Nice. That's awesome. And then, so you're in college during this time?
I'm in college during this time, yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And then when you moved out here, was it still those two rifles, or?
The last summer, I believe it was, before I moved out here, I worked in a coal mine for the summer.
Nice.
And actually made a little bit better money. And so, like you should, I spent all the money that I made on my first custom rifle.
No
when
way.
I was like 21 or 22, something like that.
Wow.
Actually, Kirby Allen from Montana, I had build turns out it was a single shot 6.5 284.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yep.
That's when did that get like normalized with like a Sammy spec or something like that? The 6.5 284.
I don't know.
Or was it a Wildcat?
I think it might have always been a Wildcat.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you get exposed to that caliber at that time?
I was already learning stuff online from forums.
Okay.
And I asked him so many questions.
Nice.
If you looked at his hourly rate on that project, he made like $300 in labor, and I think he answered 100 emails or something.
Oh my gosh.
Absurd.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I've never wanted to become a gunsmith, is dealing with people like I was when I was a kid. I was like, oh my, how could I possibly do that? And, it was one of his suggestions, I think.
Cool.
But I was aware of it as a option.
Cool. And it was a single shot?
It was a single shot,
like a solid, just no magwell in it?
Right. There was no magwell. Because I wanted it honestly, I wanted it to shoot a groundhog at 1,000 yards.
Nice.
Which I didn't do, but I definitely stretched what I probably really should have been shooting at the farm. Because like to shoot 1,000 yards, you had to shoot over a highway. But I'm sure that statute's limit.
Nice. We're beyond it, yeah.
A long time ago.
Oh man, that's wild. So, and was that essentially a bench rest rifle? Is that what you'd say? Is that what he was building?
No, I mean, it was he trued 700 action, just a basic 700 action. And I put it in like the cheap. I mean, it was a stretch to do that project at all. So at first, I think I put it in a Choate Super Sniper, something like that.
Nice
stock. It was like $164, but it had a bedding block. I didn't bet it, but I just bolted it in there, and it shot good.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. So that's that was in Pennsylvania still.
That was in Pennsylvania.
And then you came out
and
here.
then I moved out here with those guns.
With those guns. And what did you start? You started hunting deer, elk, I'm assuming antelope, that stuff while you're out here?
Yeah. I started with deer. Actually, the first I killed a bear was the first thing I killed as a resident. So first fall I was here, I wasn't a resident yet. I got a non-resident deer doe tag, because you can't just buy a buck tag. So I got a non-resident doe tag and went with a friend to his soon-to-be in-laws' place in Lavina, and we shot deer basically out of their house.
Nice.
And then the next spring I hunted black bear till I got one.
Cool. And what rifle?
That was the 30-06.
Oh, the 30-06. Cool. That's awesome, man.
Yep.
Well, let's jump forward a little. When did you get into matches? When did that start?
2013.
Okay.
I shot my first match. It was in Jordan at the Millers.
Oh, the AM.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep. It was a 2-day match. The first day was a team match. The second day was an individual match.
Oh, interesting. That's cool.
I shot the team match, teamed up with Amy, who was my fiance at the time.
Nice.
And she was signed up for the individual match, but after shooting the first day, she's like, I think I'll just watch.
Yeah, was it some brutal conditions out there?
No, she did not like the recoil of shooting that much.
Nice.
That gun really didn't fit her, and she's like, yeah. She was doing it to do it with me, not because she was interested in doing it.
Yeah.
So
totally understand that. What gun were you shooting at that time?
I shot, so right before that match, I asked, I was talking to Glenn, I had met Glenn, and I was talking to him about setting up my 6.5 284 as a repeater.
Oh, cool.
And, or maybe setting that barrel back and rechambering it to a 6.5 47 so it could be a repeater.
Nice.
And I think after he looked at it, he said, I really don't want to rechamber this barrel because it had like 800 rounds on it already. And I ordered a new one. So he rebuilt that rifle into my first 6.5 47.
Cool.
And Amy shot a 6BR I had built in the intermediate, 8 years or something.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. What's really funny is just a random, it's still in my phone, your Carl 6.5 47 Ross. Because when I met all of you guys, Glenn shared your contact with me, and I just saved it. And that's it. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
So it's still in my phone that way.
I still have a 6.5 47 barrel on the floor of my office.
Do you?
Yes.
That's so funny. I've always wanted a 6.5. It's so expensive to get a new caliber, but I've always wanted one. I've had a 6.47. I'm going to be doing a 22.47.
You can put the barrel on the floor of your office instead if you want.
Yeah. What action is it for?
Brass. It's Savage threads, and it has a barrel nut. So any Savage or Bighorn, it would go on.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, tell me, this is very early on. Like PRS started in 2012-ish. Mm-hmm. There was matches obviously before that, and that's like hearing about the AEM match. Things were very creative back then. Like
yes,
it
was all outlaw until the PRS, and that was still kind of outlaw.
Even then, it was like it's kind of wild, right?
They had like a couple pages of rules.
Yeah,
like you don't normally start an organization with a big page of rules unless you're creating a new one because you're unhappy with an existing one.
Yeah,
like you start out with few rules, and then as situations come up, then you keep adding to the rule book, and it gets real big.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So just tell me. So how'd you become aware of matches, and why was it practical rifle or precision rifle and not bench rest or F class or something like that?
Bench rest always. I was interested in the precision from bench rest, but it always seemed like a load development competition, and that neither the guns nor the activity was especially interesting to me.
Okay.
As like it didn't seem like there was anything to do with it other than do that sport.
Yep. I completely appreciate that.
Like I appreciate what they do. I think we learn a lot from the bench rest world. I mean, they're the people who shoot the most accurately.
Yep.
So they're in the best position to sort some things out. But it's not for me. I'm not interested in it. I did like back even before I moved to Montana, like I had the bench rest shooting primer, and I was trying to learn stuff from like the compilation of all the precision shooters for like the last 20 years, like all the best articles. It's a book like this all about bench rest stuff. And I was learning from it, but I was really learning the wrong lessons. Like
Really?
I was neck turning brass for my
Mm.
factory 22-250 Remington.
Yeah.
And that is not what was.
Unnecessary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
And then I'd shoot like a 5-shot group with and a 5-shot group without. And I'm like, oh, I guess it made a difference.
Yeah. Nice.
But I already bought this neck turner and it cost me like a month of disposable income. So I guess I'll turn on my brass.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate that from you because we've talked a lot about it, and I think that hunters and like people trying to actually use their rifle for a practical purpose have been following some bench rest and F-class methods, thinking that that's the best way. Again, like you said, we've learned a lot of lessons from them, but it doesn't always necessarily apply to a practical rifle.
Yes,
and I think that's the same for me, where I want to use this. I want this thing to be as accurate as possible. I don't want to be the guy testing whatever shoulder angle by different degrees makes the biggest difference or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to learn from those guys what works, and then I want to take it and put it in my world of hunting or practical rifle.
Yes. What matters for us is different than what matters for them. But, like as far as like getting really good barrels and really good bullets and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like they've definitely pushed things.
Oh man, it's been great. We did a podcast with Eric Stecker, who ran Burger for 30 years, right? And that was their world, Walt Burger and Eric. Like that is bench rest was like, that was it, man. And
Walt was making custom at the time bullets for bench rest, right?
Yes.
And then he started selling them to people, and then it snowballed.
Yeah. And then like people were like, hey, I want this level of accuracy in my hunting rifles. And then they started making hunting bullets. I think he said they went 12 years before they made a hunting bullet, and it was all just match or bench rest, right? And so
I think they just started other people had started shooting animals with their bullets, and so at some point they're like, all right, let's go test them out.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, these are hunting bullets now.
Yeah.
And
it's super cool. Like we've definitely learned a ton from bench rest and F-class.
Mm-hmm.
And then like nowadays, now we're applying it, and man, in the last 5 or 10 years, it's crazy how far we've come with the actual practical use of a rifle.
Yeah.
Right. So was that your reasoning for diving so deep in the matches, was to be able to be successful hunting, or was it just the pursuit of the matches itself, the appeal?
No, it was really the matches themselves. Like I knew it would translate. I did do, honestly, between when I moved here and when I started shooting matches, my focus was kind of backpack hunting. Like I did a lot of backpack hunting, especially when I was single.
Cool.
Once I got married, I didn't make the time for it the same.
Yeah.
But when I was single, I hunt 25, 30 days in the spring and the fall each.
Nice.
Like I did a lot.
Nice.
And so that was kind of my focus. But I also learned some things about shooting in guns that I was interested in shooting in guns the whole time, but not exactly from the competition side. I became aware of competitions from sniper side, I think.
Okay.
Which is also where I found out that there was one in Jordan.
Cool.
And once you start meeting and knowing the people in the community, then it becomes a lot easier to be aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
But there was hardly anything going on at the time. Like, it wasn't that there was a ton of Montana matches I was missing out on. There were barely any.
Yeah. Yeah, because Eric and Ann, wasn't there at that time, maybe, I don't know if it was before or after this, wasn't there a TV show or something where they were like
That was
traveling?
before the TV show.
That was
I
before
believe.
the TV show even. Okay.
Probably they were already in talks about it.
Gotcha.
I mean, I think it was reality TV season.
Nice.
That
Nice, yeah.
chunk of time, but
2013 does not seem that long ago, but the difference in precision rifle between then and now is wildly different. Would you say that?
Oh yeah. If you talk to people who were involved, especially involved at a high level, which I would not say that I was at the time, about like if they took today's equipment and skill sets back then, they'd just clean up on everything. Like it wouldn't even be competitive.
For sure.
The speed at which people shoot, the size of targets that they hit from the positions that they do, yeah, they have changed a lot. And but you'd also see kind of some crazier stuff in matches, like the bounds of what you could expect to find in a match were kind of wider. At least for PRS, they've kind of narrowed as to what you would expect.
Give me an example of a couple things they've pulled out.
There's a lot less what you might call like circus props, like props that are really unstable
Really?
and really like, where you have to, not in a match that I've been, but I've heard of people shooting off of like large bouncy balls. Like they're just like, you have to shoot off of that, or
Oh, man.
like a few of them like arranged together.
Wow.
One that happened at Granite Creek, when they had a Granite Creek match. They had a team and an individual side, and there's 4 teams and 4 individuals at the first one,
Wow.
and I was one.
Really? Wow.
And we had to shoot sideways. We had to
Oh.
lay our rifle sideways.
Oh, nice.
So, like that's kind of a circus prop type
Yep.
thing.
Yeah.
Was just talking, I think, with Owen yesterday about loopholes.
Oh,
shot
yeah,
like
yeah.
had to shoot loopholes at
That's
a Sniper's Hide Cup one time.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Which is neat, but it's a unique,
Very
specific
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of really unstable stuff.
Yeah.
True know your limit stages.
Yeah.
Some creative scoring
Where
systems.
you miss and the points all go away.
Yeah, we're like you're gambling your points with every shot.
Yeah.
Like you had to know it, and like, okay, there's 5 targets. Like, and most good guys, from my understanding, they'd stop at like 2, maybe 3 often.
So for the know your limit stage, it starts out with a big target, maybe a 2 or 3 MOA, and then it goes to smaller and smaller and smaller, and maybe ends up at 1 or smaller than 1 MOA.
Quarter sometimes.
Quarter MOA,
like
yeah.
They'd go crazy. Like,
yeah, and so like as you go down the rack, they're worth progressively more points. And so if you hit the bottom one, like you could completely blow your competition away, but if you miss, you get a 0 on the stage.
Yep.
There was a lot of that, and it upset some people.
Yep.
Often, I would say.
yeah, 'cause it would create large swings in scoring.
Yeah.
It was a lot of the top guys wanted it to be very skill based, where the more skilled guy would consistently win, and having elements like that would decrease the chance that happened each and every time.
Yeah, like a guy that's maybe not dialed on his rifle, not that great a shooter, could get lucky. Like it could come together and you hit all those. targets
If one stage was worth a third of the points of the match, and 10 guys gambled on it, and one guy gets it, he might well win the match because
For sure.
he picked up 2 stages worth of points on the last 2 targets.
Yep, for
Something
sure.
like that.
For sure. No, that's interesting. Spinners, I haven't not seen
Yeah,
as many spinners nowadays.
used to be a bigger thing. Like it might have been at that match at Ann and Eric's, we shot out of a boat. Not a boat prop, but a boat on a lake.
No way.
Yeah.
How cool.
They actually, they had a pond, and you.
How cool.
And you went in a boat, and they're like, "All right, go for it."
No way. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Which obviously you can only do that if you have a lake or a pond on your shooting venue.
Yeah, and you can't run 150 shooters through a stage like that, but be backed
No,
up.
it really
much
helped. We had like 16 shooters or something at that match.
That was kind of fun. About like I got into it fairly late. It was 2018 before I started shooting matches, but there was still there was remnants of this going on at matches. Mm-hmm. It was fun, man. And like I get that when you're trying to be ultra competitive and like something like that, there's a bit of luck involved, but it's also kind of cool. I still like the little swinging table boat things. Mm-hmm. I like them. They're fun. I don't know.
I think they're fun.
Yeah,
good exercise and timing and trigger control.
100%. No, it's great. So I'm going to bounce around a little bit in our conversation, but as far as matches, like what's your favorite style of match that you like to shoot?
I like both PRS and NRL hunter matches. They're different more than I have a preference, I would say.
Yeah.
I like on NRL hunters, in a way, they're more relaxed because you're kind of off the clock the whole time you're not shooting. Like you get done with the stage, I stuff my mag, I repack my pack, and I'm chilling until it's the next time.
Hanging out.
Whereas if you're trying to be really competitive at a PRS match, you can be sitting there studying the wind, looking at the prop, or whatever the stage is, memorizing the target sequence, and just like rehearsing everything the whole time if you want to.
Yeah.
And so in that way, it's not as relaxed. Particularly, I mostly shoot club matches where you're also, scoring and helping the whole squad the whole time. So from that standpoint, I find the NRL hunters more relaxing. it is a finite challenge as far as, they're they probably don't test quite as many different aspects of things
Yep.
as the PRS match can, or at least different scenarios. I don't know. I like them. I like them both.
Yeah.
And I like other stuff that isn't, or that hasn't been, formal competitive stuff like the hunter course, I've built.
Yo, yeah.
I've talked
yeah.
to you.
Excited to see
that,
how that goes for sure.
That course fire, which is like somewhat similar to NRL Hunter in that like all the engagements are very similar to each other, but it's more meant to get lots of reps in that, in a true hunting engagement.
Yeah. With a time element to it.
With a time element.
Yep. That's awesome.
But not with a par time, but where,
Gotcha.
yeah, that one is meant to be done for time to
Nice.
see how fast you can execute the shot sequence correctly.
Nice. Wait, one of the things that I and most everybody notices about you is you're so methodical and efficient with your movement that it looks like you're not moving very fast.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what type of match it is, you always finish with an extreme amount of time left over. It feels like I was watching you shoot yesterday. It was my last stage. I think it was your second to last. That log thing that like you tripod reared it. I believe there's two positions. Yep. Tripod rear.
Another one.
And yeah, and just the speed at which you moved up here, because you see, I start running, and instantly my adrenaline starts peaking, and my heart starts thumping, and you're just moving so calm and smooth. I think you shot 4 shots, cleaned the stage, and you've become very good at just managing everything, right? Like, and I think you stay in from my observation, you stay in a headspace that allows you to be make very good decisions and have very good awareness on your surroundings and what's happening with the wind and all that on the clock, because you're not getting worked up.
Yeah.
Like I often do by getting running and going kind of frantic.
And I do that intentionally. I actually picked some of that up. One match I shot with Jake Vibert. It was a good squad. Like it was, half the top 5 was in our squad of 10, I think. Nice. That match. And he did not move fast ever. He moved like crazy slow. He had no wasted movement. And I also realized that by moving slowly and not being in a hurry, he was just keeping himself in that chill, calm headspace. And yeah, I think you can take yourself out of that nice, calm headspace just by rushing physically.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you have to have practiced enough that your movements are efficient, or you'll just run out of time.
For sure.
But yeah, that's on purpose.
Oh man, I for some reason I like the kind of like excitement, but I know it hurts me because the moment the time starts, I'm running. NRL Hunter, I'm running. If it's like a PRS where you have to like a run up or something like that, I'm running. So before I even get to my gun, I've already got my heart rate's worked up. I'm all excited, and I enjoy the feeling, but at the same time, I think it hurts me oftentimes. Another guy that did it, just Scott Satterley, I remember it was, you were shooting with him, I think, at Defy the Distance, one of them.
Okay, yep.
And it was back on the PRS barricade. I think it had a 10-yard run up or something.
Okay.
Right? And so you'd run up and shoot the 4 positions. And I just remember Scott Satterley, like they're getting ready to start the time, and he's kind of getting ready like a sprinter, and they start the time, and he just walks super calm. It just cracked me up. And they cleaned the stage, of course. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, it's just funny because he like kind of made this like he's gonna run. It's like, no, I'm not running.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's fun. So yeah, so speaking of the NRL Hunter, we both got done shooting one, and you won factory class.
I won factory class.
And I think now would be a fun time to talk about the match a little bit, maybe talk about your rifle.
Absolutely.
And tell me how it went for you.
Okay. Yeah. Match was Seth's match.
Yep.
His 5th. Antisocial.
Defiance Antisocial.
Yeah.
Yep. Montana.
I've entered 3 times, actually attended twice. I have a habit of getting too busy.
Carl's also a workaholic, and he'll book himself 120 hours a week and try and get it done in 80.
Working on getting better than that. At that. It's not that much fun after a while.
For sure. Yeah. So Carl is definitely... he loves shooting, but he also likes being responsible and getting his work done. So very responsible, get stuff done. So
yeah. So no, it was a good match. Man, things just keep getting more competitive in general. Like the level of competition has been steadily improving for quite a while, it seems. Not just like how good top guys are, but the number of people who are at the level where they could have a very good performance.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just the it's not even just equipment. Guys want to focus on the equipment, but the knowledge being disseminated amongst our community on how to bypass just being mediocre with a gun and getting good. It's like it's out there. Guys know how to do it. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah. And once more and more guys do, there gets to be less and less differentiation.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. So how'd the match go for you?
match went good for me. I did win just by one shot.
Oh, it was one shot.
Oh yeah, it was one shot.
Oh, I didn't see that. Was it Benny?
It was Benny.
Yeah, nice.
Benny Cooley, who Glenn was talking about Benny Cooley at matches from in 2013 when I started.
Oh, really?
Like,
Wow.
he's been doing it a long time.
Dude, that's awesome.
And I had never ran into him until I started shooting NRL hunters because
Nice.
he's not super local.
Yeah.
His plate says he's from Idaho. I don't actually know him.
Yeah.
But he's been at every NRL hunter that I've been to shooting factory class
That's
and beat me
awesome.
at all of them. Until this
Really?
one. Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I
yeah.
didn't know
I've
that.
come in second behind him before,
Nice.
but this is the first one.
Got
I got
him.
him by a shot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And he was shooting the same rifle, I think, right?
The last time I saw him, every time I've seen him, he's been shooting the Seekins PH2. He used to shoot the 6 Creed, but based on power factor, he must be shooting a 6.5 now
Oh,
because
gotcha.
it's like 4,000
Oh,
or 400,000.
400,000. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think I had the lowest power factor of anyone in the match.
Did you check it? What it was?
It was like, I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah, it's like it was over 300.
Nice. So you're shooting a Seekins. Tell me what the rifle
Yeah,
is.
so it is a Seekins PH2 in 6 Creed. Yeah, just factory 24-inch PH2,
Awesome.
which they don't make anymore. They've moved to the PH3.
Okay.
I don't know that much about the 3s. I think they're slightly heavier.
Okay.
They have an adjustable cheek piece.
Nice.
They definitely changed the action up.
Okay.
Might be a 3 or a 4 leg action now, something like that. And I think it's no longer a 700 footprint. So like this one, you could put in a 700 stock,
Gotcha.
but I think the new ones you can't.
They went
I'm stretching.
proprietary, possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm stretching my knowledge there.
Gotcha. So looks like a little bastard muzzle
Yep.
brake.
Yep.
What scope you running?
It's the Night Force NX8 4-32.
Nice, great scope.
Yep.
And you're able to make weight
I can
with
make weight with a triple pull.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is nice.
How much triple pull front tripod rear did you do in the match? Would you say?
It was a lot.
Yep.
It was a lot.
Yep.
Like maybe, I don't know if it was half, but it might have been 40%,
Nice,
30%, something like that.
nice. That's awesome, man. Yeah. What's interesting? Just speaking of the 6 Creedmoor, Carl's the only person I know that his NRL hunter rifle recoils more than all his actual hunting rifles. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, pretty much, except for the muzzle brake.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
'cause I'm not hunting with a muzzle brake.
You're hunting with
so
suppressor.
I'm hunting with a suppressor.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's right in there.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Well, and that I've taken that rifle hunting a bunch.
Yep, that's great. And it's a great shooting rifle, man. That's what it's for. The money, it's pretty amazing what they are doing for that amount of money.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of, you do not have to spend $5,000 to get a good shooting rifle
For
these
sure.
days. If for the guys who are really serious about competing, I tell them, like, get what you want.
Mhm.
Like, if you really get into it deeply, the match fee cost, the ammunition cost, the travel cost is going to totally outweigh any specific piece of equipment within reason.
Yeah.
If you want like Vector 21s or something.
Yeah.
So like, if you're going to spend, a lot of thousands of dollars on this sport, you might as well shoot the gun you want.
For
like,
sure.
Don't try to save $500 or even $1,000. If you have the money, when you're going to put, like my match rifle, it's on its 9th barrel, like, approaching 20,000 rounds.
Yep.
And you add in all the travel and match fees, like, I'm shooting what I want.
Yeah.
If there was something else that I wanted, I'd get it, but it is how I want it.
Yeah.
It's not built to a price point.
For sure. Yeah, that's what, when I see guys make, and like I've experienced this in my life, when you make a compromise to save $200, but that the thing that's $200 more has a little feature that you really want. Like, does it make you better? No, but I want it, and that's like part of the enjoyment of this whole hobby is tinkering with our stuff, playing at the reloading bench and putting guns together. You know?
Yeah, it is equipment intensive enough that if you're not a gear guy, might inhibit your ability to really excel because your gear has to be dialed in.
For sure.
It's a pretty important part of being successful.
I keep kicking myself in the foot and freaking doing that. You could see the difference between you being an engineer and me being a dumb electrician in the way that I take care of my stuff because I keep running into little issues. I was pulling my bolt apart with Nip-X pliers, and then I was having hang fires. Oh. Why do you think? Because I buggered up the sear and it's like, oh, you dummy.
Oh,
so some of the redneck stuff that I've done, I've caused myself. So I shouldn't be allowed to touch my gun. Somebody else should put my guns together for me.
No seventh axis work.
The seventh axis. I've gone a slightly viral with a Dremel tool on a Accuracy International ATX. I was talking to Serge about that because Serge is very active on the hide. And
okay, yeah. Did you remember that?
He was very aware of it. He was unaware that I was his teammate. This weekend. He didn't find out until halfway through the weekend. He's like, "That was you?" I was like, "Yeah, that was me, dude." And I took a Dremel tool to a Accuracy International bolt, a brand new one, and one of the new ATXs, and then I had to weld it back, and it was a mess. And then I went, there were some memes about me on Sniper Side. It was kind of great.
I used a Dremel on a chamber once.
Did you? Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah. Precision Rifle Blog mentioned it.
Did they really?
Yeah,
I do remember him. Yeah, he said that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, because I got it from a gunsmith I will not name.
Yeah.
And then and the chamber was so tight in the web area that it was touching. It was a dasher chamber, and it was tight enough that it was touching on unfired virgin 6BR brass, which is a problem because you'll never size it to enough to not get clickers.
Yep.
Glenn opened it up using some kind of wizardry, but it still didn't feed well enough.
Oh.
So I chamfered it by hand with the
Dremel. I love it.
And that was my match barrel for the year.
I love it.
Yeah.
Dude. That's awesome. You shot well with that gun. I'm pretty confident you won.
I made squad 1 at the NRL championship that year with that barrel.
The heavy gun NRL.
Which is why I got included in that list. It's the only year. It was actually the only year I've shot a national race gun series to the championship.
Yeah. That's what, like, that one, we've been a little bit, it's just been tough for us up here in Montana to really pursue those. It's getting a little bit easier, but then we're getting busier with family and stuff. So you and I both, I think, have that desire, but it's just not in the cards right now.
Yeah. I'm interested in it, but I'm not willing to commit the resources of time and money to make it happen when I have a very similar amount of enjoyment shooting local matches with my friends where half the time I wake up at home and eat dinner at home.
Yeah.
Like it's way easier for me to fit those in and have a good rest of my life.
A good experience. Yeah. And it's like, and that's there's something to be said for shooting with your friends. Cause when you do travel across the country, especially when you don't know anybody, if you haven't spent a lot of time on the East Coast or wherever, and then you get there and I don't know anybody. This is uncomfortable.
Yeah. You could be the best shooter from the West Coast and like maybe 4 guys will know. And also there's unless you are specifically involved in the industry where you are selling something, there's no pot of gold at the end of that rainbow. Yeah. Like would it be great to be very competitive at the national level?
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be fun. But the guys who are investing a lot of time and money to do so. 100%. And for me, the payoff's not there. I get a very similar amount out of shooting locally.
Yep. So and the cool thing about it is you've been able to maintain a level at like the top end of precision shooting from back in 2013 through to now by shooting primarily club matches, but you've been able to keep your skill set very high. You don't necessarily have to go shoot national matches to get the level of competition or skills or experience to keep your ability high, right?
And I shoot them on occasion. I haven't shot a 2-day race gun match in a while, but I do on occasion.
Yeah,
It happens.
definitely on occasion, but I think that like we have to credit you a lot with locally setting a pretty high bar in our area. Like I would say a national level bar, and letting people know this is the level. And there was a lot of guys like that were just not they were significantly below you, and but it set a level where
It's
a lot
come
of guys
up.
wanted to come up. Exactly, and
I mean, you remember when you started, it was not uncommon for somebody, sometimes myself, to win a match for like 10 shots or something.
yes,
And now, I want to say like my last 10, first or second places have been by one shot.
Yeah.
Like it is very rare for there to be a blowout win
for sure.
anymore.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to see, and I think with just you setting a bar for us, it was good for our community, Montana, Wyoming. Like we have a pretty tight knit community, but it helped pull everybody up, right? And
Yeah, and there was plenty of good shooters along the way, but I was
Yeah.
pretty active for.
You've been active
For a long
through the
time.
whole thing because we've had guys come and go, right? Like
Sure.
and guys like at the top that were winning matches, but we've had guys kind of come and go and in and out. And it's been great to have you there, always kind of setting a bar, and always consistent too. And there's something I'd like to ask you about because you had a bad flinch went from that Tasco that would hit you in the head. You don't be consistent. Like maybe you're not at your very best and you don't win the match, but you're never 15th or 20th or whatever, right? You're always
Not too often.
You're always consistent, and the only way you get to consistency is having a good process. It doesn't just happen. You don't just wake up and like I'm a solid, consistent shooter. There's a process that allowed you to get there, both with your equipment. But for me, what I'm really interested in is in the mindset. And I'm curious when you went through the process of developing a solid mindset with shooting after you had the flinch from the Tasco. When did that happen?
So I don't necessarily know that it was the best way to go about it, but I shot a ton of 22,
Okay.
like bricks and bricks of 22, working to get rid of that flinch.
Cool.
It was to the point where I was having aggressive, obvious flinches with 22
Wow.
at the time.
Wow.
And yeah, again, I'm not recommending that as the way. I think
Yeah.
ball and dummy drill is probably a more direct path to get rid of that than what I did. But that is what I did, and I eventually did get over it.
Awesome. And what is your process now? Do you have anything? Like I had a giant flinch with bows. They call it target panic with bows. It's the same thing with guns. In reality, it's just anticipating the shot. And Joel Turner likes to describe as pre-ignition movements, right?
Sure.
If your brain knows an explosion is about to go off in front of your face, it's right here in the chamber, and you're telling your subconscious when it's going to go off. There's nothing you can do. It's pre-ignition movements. You're bracing for impact, right? Mm-hmm. And so Joel has a very, very good way of teaching you how to overcome that through a controlled shot process, which is essentially a surprise break. So I went through Joel, and that's what kind of taught me. And it was actually through archery and it was like really good cross training for me with the rifle.
Yeah.
But do you have like what is your shot process? Do you execute a command shot or a surprise shot, or how does that work for you?
I get a sight picture that I like, and I trust my eye to, like, my eye and everything that I can feel to tell me that things are good, which only happen, like, you can, especially all the feeling really only happens through lots and lots of reps. Which I've done. Like I don't do a ton of precision rifle dry fire these days, but there's a while when I was developing my skill set that I'd do thousands and thousands of rounds. I mean, when I first got that bighorn, I remember I actually broke a firing pin, and I'd done which only happened once. They replaced it. It was fine.
Yeah.
But I broke a firing pin. I did like 10,000 rounds of dry fire in 2 months or something in the winter.
Yep.
Just like
very, very intentional practice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Just trying to, and I think that just burns all that in. Because to perform really well, you got to make something you have to practice until it becomes subconscious, right?
100%.
Practice correctly until it becomes subconscious.
Yep.
You can't, most of things you're not going to do well consciously has to be subconscious, and the performance is totally different
100%
once you can do it subconsciously.
Yeah, you have to rewire those neural pathways and the 10,000, like people, I've heard the 10,000 number before, but in reality, if you're doing something wrong, you can't just go do it 100 times and expect it to be good for now on. It needs to be.
And like I was building a position and breaking a shot under time, like
Wow.
a lot of times.
Wow.
And I would even like video myself and just like try to see what I was doing wrong.
Awesome.
It's a really boring video to watch.
Dude, it's impressive because a lot of people will shoot, a lot of match shooters will shoot out a barrel. How many guys shoot out a bolt or a firing pin?
Right.
Because that's
right.
what
and it shouldn't happen. I mean, like that was my first bighorn, and that was on my well within the first barrel.
Yeah.
And now I've got 10 times that much.
Yeah. And this is not by no means a knock against them. Like it's just a potential of something that could happen. But even if you had to pay for it, it was well worth it because of the skill set you developed through that dry fire practice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, as far as the break itself, I would say I do like, I get a sight picture that I'm happy with. You know, my body through the reps tells me whether or not it feels like this is a good position, and I stack pressure. I might stack it real fast, but I'm not going now. Pretty much no matter what. If I did that, I would consider it a flinch.
Yep, I agree.
To do so.
I agree.
I also try to avoid too many reps of stuff that's punishing.
Yep.
Because that flinch can come back. You know, you get punched enough.
There's nothing. Yep. Your subconscious does not like it. I don't like it.
It doesn't.
And,
like it's not that I won't shoot stuff that kicks a lot, but like I try not to do hundreds and hundreds of reps of it.
100%. I've got a 300 Norma. Love to shoot it. Love to hunt with it. I only shoot it with a breaker suppressor. I'm not going to shoot it with a bare muzzle because I know potentially what it could do to my brain.
Yep.
And if somebody comes out to the range and they want help with it, like guys will come out with the 300 Weatherby mag and it's like, dude, I'm just not going to shoot it. It's like a 6-pound rifle, 300 Weatherby mag. I'm not going to shoot it. It does me no good to shoot that gun.
Yeah. Yeah. You know? I mean, sometimes I do that stuff, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
And luckily I have enough reps with stuff that's friendly that I can absorb some, you know?
Yep.
But I try to minimize it.
Man, I totally agree with you. So this leads in to our next discussion. I'm going to start out. I'm going to ask you both about hunting rifle and match caliber.
Yep.
Okay. If you didn't have to invest the cost of the brass and the die, and just like anytime you get into a new caliber, there's just an investment to get there.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And everything that you have works for you, right? But like if there was no investment, what would be your match caliber, ideal match caliber and bullet? Probably throw that in there, and then ideal hunting caliber and bullet.
Okay. So
this is for you.
Yeah, I've only ever shot 2 match calibers seriously. Like, you know, I've shot a match with a 223.
Yep.
I shot one with a 22 BR hunting rifle for kicks.
That was fun. Yeah. You got second.
Yeah. Part of that, I wanted to see how much difference it made shooting like a full bore match rifle versus, you know, my admittedly very friendly to shoot hunting rifle.
Yep.
And I thought it cost me 1 or 2 shots.
Yeah. Wow.
But that was not a match that required a lot of single bag shooting.
Yep.
If it had, it might have been a different story.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've shot a handful of 6.5 47 barrels for a match gun, and then I switched to Dasher, and I've been Dasher since. I think that calibers are more similar than different by a wide margin. I don't think there's anything magic about the Dasher. I think it's a nice group of qualities. Has a nice group of qualities. I'd probably stay with it because I see no compelling reason to go a different direction. It'd probably be more logistics driven. Like these days, you don't have to make Dasher brass. There's a bunch of places that I think even Lapua started making Dasher brass. So you don't have to fire form it anymore, which you absolutely did when I started. And yeah, I like the series of compromises it makes, but I think they're all the calibers are just versions of compromises.
Yep.
If you get a bullet with bad form factor, that's not a compromise. That's just silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I would do a Dasher and a 109 because it's been working for me.
Yep.
If I couldn't get 109s, I'd choose one of the other bullets and not worry too much about it.
Yeah.
If for some reason I couldn't get Dasher, I mean, honestly, a 6.5-47 would work fine.
Yeah.
A 6BR would work fine. The list goes on.
They're all so close to that. To you, it doesn't matter all that much because as long as
no, if you told me what I have to shoot within the realm of what everybody shoots,
yeah,
I really wouldn't feel handicapped by it.
Care. Yeah. Nice. And with your Dasher, are you a Varget guy?
I've been shooting Varget recently. Yeah.
Okay.
I've shot 48-95 too.
Nice.
It's just fine.
Do you have a preference? No preference between those two?
Whatever. I've got a big jug of them.
Nice. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. That's as long as a Hodgdon extreme powder, I'm guessing. A lot of guys are running Vidovori nowadays, but
I pretty much stick with the Hodgdon extremes for stuff I play for keeps with.
Nice. Yeah.
Really
temp stable, and it
was well behaved.
Yes.
Like,
that's a good
I don't
way to
have surprises.
Yep.
That's what I don't want. Like 50 feet a second extra. Okay, great.
Yeah.
What I don't want is surprises.
Yep.
I don't think that the Hodgdon extreme powders give you the best potential velocities, but you very rarely have surprises, or at least that's my experience.
I totally agree with you. I've ran Vidovori and hunting, and I don't know about the N1 series, but I've just ran the N5 series, like N560, 565.
I think that's a double base powder.
I think
the
series.
one is a single base.
Yeah.
So the one would be a lot more comparable.
I think guys are running like
powders.
N150 maybe for the BR based stuff. I
think that's what Francis Cologne
gotcha. Yeah,
runs in a Dasher.
Yeah, so I don't have experience with that, but the Vidovori stuff, it's more like the reloader powder too, where it's double base, and you're going to get more speed out of it. But it's man, I always have to turn on the muzzle velocity temp sensitivity chart with whatever solver I'm using because, man, if you have a 50-degree swing, your muzzle velocity is going to be different enough to change your dope.
Mm-hmm. Which can also sometimes change your point of impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is not a good time.
Yeah, not fun.
You're chasing multiple things then.
For sure. For sure. So hunting rifle, that's a 6 Creedmoor. What would be your ideal hunting rifle caliber and bullet?
So I am still experimenting. I am not settled. Over there is my latest hunting rifle build, which is a 22 Creedmoor.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So it's what some might call a rock slide special blueprint. It's a Tikka, got a rock stock, 18-inch barrel with just enough diameter for 5/8 24 threads.
What was a brand barrel?
It is a preferred free fit.
Okay.
Which had I gave them another chance. The worst barrel I ever had was a preferred, but enough people have had good results, and there's some unique circumstances around that one that I didn't write them off, and it was a good price point.
Nice.
So, and it was easy. When you have what I want, you make it really easy.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to give you a chance.
Nice.
And that was the case. So I'm trying that out. I have limited 22 caliber centerfire experience on game.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I've seen specifically with the 88 ELD is what I've shot. I've really liked. So this is my next experiment.
Cool.
As far as prior to this, because this is brand new. I mean, it doesn't even have 100 rounds on it yet. Prior to that, my Tikka 243 I really, really like. It's a factory Tikka barrel. It shoots plenty good. Like it was almost a coin flip, which whether I was going to take it or this rifle to the NRL hunter match. Like they pretty much shot the same.
Nice.
And I had more ammo loaded up for this.
Nice.
So I took it. That was pretty much it.
Awesome.
But it shoots really well. It behaves really nicely. And it's a 108, so I'm shooting a 109 out of it.
Oh, cool.
109 ELD.
Cool.
And yeah.
What's a standard 243 twist? Is that?
I don't know what the SAMI is. A bunch of people have made 10s or 9s for a long time, which the 9s you can kind of shoot some of the better bullets. The 10s you can't. I mean, you can shoot like a 95, and if you're a 500 and in and preferably 400 and in hunter, like you're not really going to notice the difference. But I want my hunting rifles to shoot like my match guns.
Cool.
Because you can have that. So
yeah, and that's
I
cool.
want that.
That's cool that Tika is doing a 1 and 8, doing a little faster twist, because I know a lot of the factory whatever rifle manufacturer will stick with whatever the CME is with a pretty slow twist, and that's where like the new PRCs and all that stuff is taken off just because of their faster twisted and throated for the bigger
they've
bullets.
designed all the Creedmoors, arcs, and PRCs are designed around the modern bullets.
Yep.
So that they just work makes sense.
Yeah. That's what's kind of fun, because like I like some weird stuff, right? And you can't go buy a 284 off the shelf and expect it to do what you want it to do. But for me, I really like the brass. I like that. I just like the history of the round, but so I can go get a custom that's twisted correctly and is throated long enough to run the heavies, and then it's a super cool caliber, and it's kind of cool that they're doing that with the 243, because it is. We talked about it yesterday. It's basically a 6 Creedmoor.
Oh, it is. I mean, it is a 6 Creedmoor in a different shape.
Yep.
And with the Tika, you can just get a longer magazine, so that they have M magazines that are just over 2.8 OAL.
Okay.
That they can handle. But they also have an M plus that takes it to 3 inches, and then it fits real nice.
Yeah, you're dialed in.
Yeah,
and that's are all Tikas still the same action length with different bolt stops?
Yep.
They're all still that way. So in theory, you can get a long action magazine too, and get
the longest magazine you can get is a 3.34.
Okay.
So the 7 PRC is kind of the biggest thing that fits nicely with modern bullets.
Okay.
You step up to a 7 rem mag or 300 win mag, and they make them, but you can't fit the good bullets in the magazine.
Yeah, you're just gonna run shorties in there, the old school shorties for sure. No, that's cool, and that's what I actually ran a Tika long action 6.5 55 improved. It's Glenn Dimmeray special.
Yep. Sounds right.
6.5 Zig, I think. That's what it was called.
6.5 Zig, yeah.
Pretty sure that's what it was, but it's a 6.5 55 with an improved shoulder. I think it was a 35-degree shoulder, maybe. And but that was nice because I was running a long action and then running 147s in it, and it feeds like butter.
Yep.
I had plenty of mag length to do whatever I wanted to do with that.
Right.
So that was kind of cool. We actually punched out a 6.5 Creedmoor barrel. It was a factory Tika 6.5 Creedmoor that we punched out the 6.5 55 improved. It's great. Thanks, Glenn. We did some fun stuff, but I do like the doing odd stuff every once in a while. It's just kind of fun with guns, and that's not what I'd recommend to everybody to do. But
there's definitely elements of do what I say, not what I do when 100%. It comes to experimenting with things. Like if you just want it to work, there's a whole lot of stuff that I've done that I would not recommend that somebody try out.
Yeah,
I would not recommend. Oh, you want one hunting rifle? Build a 22 Creedmoor. No, I would not recommend that. Yep. But I'm playing with it to see.
For you,
to see what I think. There was once upon a time I wouldn't recommend taking a 6mm elk hunting, but I've done it enough now that I will now tell people, it's probably going to work. Yep. It's probably going to work just fine.
Yep. And with the lack of recoil, you're more likely to put the bullet where it belongs, right?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
If you do it with a 300 Win Mag in the guts, you're going to have a long day on your hands.
Yeah.
Shoot them in the lungs with the 6 Creedmoor, they're probably going to die right there.
Yeah.
So this leads us into the next conversation that you've done an extensive amount of testing that I know you share some of it on Rockslide.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've shared all of it that you've done, but I some of the things I know you've done 10-shot group testing every time you went to the range for a long period of time and tracked lighting conditions and cloud cover and all that, and saw where your zero went. I know you've done a lot of drop testing.
Yep.
I know you've done a lot of terminal ballistic testing.
Sure.
Different bullets on that.
Or just, shooting stuff with different bullets and observing
what
I get.
But being intentional about looking at what it does. Because a lot of people, the thing I always ask, I just like more data points. I can't shoot enough animals for me to get all the data points. And so I always quiz people on it. And the vast majority of people don't go into the vitals and look and see what happened.
Yeah, for a long time I didn't, because I was always backpack hunting and I was doing a gutless method.
Oh yeah.
And so I just didn't get in there.
For sure.
And so I knew that stuff died, but that was pretty much it.
So and I just want you to talk to me. Let's talk about terminal ballistics testing that you've done with the smaller bullets, because it is a very controversial subject. Rockslide is finally, those guys are largely driven by form. He's driven people to. I think there's just an acceptance more there, but within the traditional hunter world, I've been told so many times that you can't kill an elk with anything less than a 300 Win Mag, right? And
some people are silly.
I know, but what I would like you to talk about what you've found with running these smaller caliber, smaller bullets. This 22 Creedmoor, pretty confident you're going to go shoot some elk with it this year.
That's the plan.
Is that fair to say? And so I would just like tell me what you found with some of these smaller bullets. What when you've killed animals? Tell me what you found with them.
Well, I guess I've never shot an elk with a 300 Win Mag, or any 30 caliber actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, maybe they could die ever so slightly faster, but they seem to be dying fast enough. So my biggest gun I've shot an elk with is a 708 Ackley.
Okay. That's
so
cool.
that was my starting
That's
point.
super cool.
I definitely.
It's like a 7 saw almost.
Yeah, it would
like
be
a 7
related
saw.
to that. Steve Tim, that I don't know if you recognize that name.
I don't.
He's a guy from Oregon. He was active on 24-hour Campfire for a while. He wrote for a few publications, and he actually, I believe, designed the Boone and Crockett reticle for Loophole.
Oh.
And then didn't get credit for it or something.
Oh wow.
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know the details on that.
Yeah.
Anyways, he was a promoter of that chambering and convinced me to build one or he didn't personally convince me, but what he wrote convinced me to give that a try.
What bullet?
162 AMAX.
Oh,
I used
cool.
a lot.
Nice.
And
Pre-ELDM.
Yep.
Basically, yeah.
Pre-ELDM. Yep. And I also used 120 TSXs, I think.
Oh.
A bit.
Cool.
I didn't.
Nice.
Yeah, there was a while there before I was really giving the match style bullets a fair shake for hunting. Pat Sinclair, his results definitely influenced me both on smaller calibers and on bullet selection because he was shooting a lot of stuff with a lot of success. And I mean, he shot everything there is with a 220 Swift.
Yeah.
For decades.
That's awesome.
Way before there was the internet to talk about stuff.
Awesome.
But he still has the stacks of pictures.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just anecdotal evidence here, but I've shot an elk with a 300 Norma and with a 245 Burger.
Yep.
Leaving the barrel 29-25, and I've shot an elk I've shot multiple elk, but I've shot that was an EOL, the same line of bullets from Burger, and then I shot one with a 6.5 PRC with a 156 EOL, and the time till death was almost identical.
Yep.
Within 10 seconds, I would say. Right? And I put the bullet where they belonged both times, and they both stood there for a second and then fell over and died.
Yeah.
And, but that's pretty I would say more accept that 6.5 PRC is a more acceptable hunting round.
More
nowadays.
commonly acceptable, yeah.
More commonly acceptable. But as far as running a 22, what have you found when you've shot them with these? I don't know if you've killed an elk with a 22 caliber before.
I have not killed an elk with a 22. I took one the last day I went elk hunting, and the elk weren't standing where they were supposed to stand.
Gotcha.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
We're supposed to, we sent them an invite.
Yep.
They didn't show up.
Yeah. But you've shot them with a variety of 6mm.
Dasher, Creedmoor, and 243.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what have you found?
Well, the differences are more in bullets than the. I mean, the chambering is just something getting it to a velocity.
Yep.
So thinking about what the bullet is and the impact, those are the terms I think of. What does this bullet do, and what does it do at specific impact velocities? So those are.
How much are you thinking about energy?
I don't. Yeah.
And why?
Because it does not seem to have a causal relationship to the wound, and the wound seems to be what makes stuff die.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the wound happens as a matter of going from an aerodynamic shape into a wound-causing shape. Like some bullets do better than others for causing that wound, or from going from aerodynamic to a wound-causing shape. And the amount of energy seems completely irrelevant to making that happen, in my experience.
Yeah. Having a heavy bullet at a slow velocity will have as much, or can easily have as much energy as a small bullet at a higher velocity.
Yep.
But if it dips below a certain impact velocity threshold, it stops behaving the same. So that's why I look at impact velocities. That seems to be the metric that most directly affects the terminal performance.
Yep.
The stuff I have shot with a 22 BR, which is the centerfire I've used on game, the holes seem pretty much the same as they do with my 6mm,
Nice.
and those holes seem pretty much the same as the ones with the 6.5s.
Similar to your 7, which is also similar to the 30s that I shoot them with. Yeah.
Similar holes, similar time to death, similar results.
Yep.
So, after doing a bunch of match shooting, I realized how much better I could shoot my match guns than a heavier recoiling hunting rifle. And when I started seeing some evidence that those lighter rounds would work well, I just kept kind of chasing that, and it kept working.
Yeah.
So now my hunting guns are way easier to shoot.
100%.
I mean, not that I can't shoot a heavier recoiling rifle decently, but I for sure can't shoot it as easily.
Not as easily, and like recoil management's a little tougher, and so you're used to spotting your own shots, and so that's where I'm at. Dude, you've inspired a whole series with me and Zach where we wanted lighter hunting rifles, and I don't want to maintain the same amount of recoil with a lighter rifle. I was like, I want a forgiving rifle that's easy to shoot.
Yeah,
and that was, you go down in the amount of powder and bullet weight that you're trying to throw out the end, and you get less recoil, but then the performance, like the ballistic performance, is going to act just like my 6BRX. It's going to be very close to, depending on the speed I get it to, it's going to act very much like my match rifle.
Yep.
But then the performance on the animal is going to be the same as my 6.5 PRC or my whatever it is I've been shooting all these years. You know, I've bounced around a lot with calibers, but yeah, it's been interesting watching you, because you have been doing this for, I think, a lot longer than it's kind of becoming popular now, or people are opening their eyes possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I remember like 15 years ago, I talked a friend into a 708 Tikka instead of his 7 mag Remington 700 from like a shoot a bit. Like we were out, I helped him with load development, I helped him with some shooting, and I was like, this is a lot easier to shoot for you than that is. And it was funny because he ended up selling that 7 mag to a guy who was getting it for his wife because she didn't like his 338 or something.
Wow. That's
like,
rough.
Oh, this is funny.
Yeah. Nice.
I've been shooting smaller stuff for a while. There's a long time that, a smaller 6.5 was not. Since the Creedmoors come out and become kind of accepted, a lot of people have been doing that, but not when it first came out. 'Cause it didn't first come out as a marketed to hunters at all. It was for match shooting.
Yep.
I mean, that's why it's named Creedmoor, after a particular range. But I think I saw Pat shoot a bunch of stuff with a 260 successly. I was like, okay, I'll give this 6.5 a ballistic twin, basically, a try on game, and it gave me no reasons to stop using it.
For sure.
I pretty much nearly shot out a hunting rifle in that over a few years. And
awesome.
Then,
Are you willing to, can you share the big buck you shot in Wyoming, the details on that one?
Sure. That was with my 6-dasher hunting rifle, the 6-dasher hunting rifle I did. It was a 109 ELD. It ended up being at 532 yards. And worked good.
It worked through it. One shot. And it was a giant deer.
It was large.
It was a giant. It was a horse of a body, and also happened to be in the 190s, I believe.
Yes. It was gross. It was 198. But it was a gigantic bodied deer. Just
a horse of a deer. If you're willing, I'd like to be able to share those pictures so people can see it, because it's a giant deer. But when you look at the wound on the thing, because you have a couple pictures on the outside, absolute devastation.
Yeah.
And it was a little 6-dasher.
Yeah.
With a little 109. With not that much energy at 532 yards.
I'm sure not.
And people would argue it, and to me it's just like, dude, the evidence just doesn't lie.
It was like 20. So that was pretty high elevation, and it wasn't that cold because it's a September hunt.
Yep.
And it was like a 23 or 2400 foot per second impact velocity.
Nice.
So like it was not what I consider the bottom edge of that, and it
No.
did plenty of damage. It was
Yeah.
not close.
Yeah.
And it did not go far.
It was very impressive. That's what. Yeah. That's and that just a giant deer. And like, but you've had the same success on elk with those same similar projectiles.
And honestly, like if I shoot an antelope, but I get a very nice wound in it, I value that like would that wound also kill an elk?
Yep.
Unless it's really shallow. Like, yeah, I'm just not that. Elk aren't as much different as deer and antelope as people think until they have some experience.
I think people are hitting them in the guts and they're not being honest with themselves. And they talk about how hard they are to kill. And in my experience, like I'd run a stick through it from a bow all the time. They die really quick. And like whatever gun I've shot, if you put it in the right place, they die really quick. And I think people are just not. They get so excited with a big elk in front of them and they're not executing a good shot. You shoot them in the guts or you shoot them in the legs. Of course, they're not going to die. They're tough animals.
And I think there's multiple factors too. Like a lot of people tend to gravitate towards hard bullets, or at least it used to be the case.
Yeah.
Guys would run like an X bullet or something that would actually make a smaller wound.
Yep.
Even if you put in like a 338, it's still not a giant wound.
For sure.
It does increase, and shooting a big gun does increase the chance that somebody makes a bad shot.
Yep.
Just all else being equal.
Yep. Just flinching.
Not that you can't shoot a big gun real well, but on average, people don't shoot it as well.
The majority of hunters that we see come out to the range. They're even guys shooting match rifle. I watch guys flinching all weekend long with a match rifle, let alone a big. And that's why I just don't think they're doing themselves a good service by shooting these big magnums that are.
I also think on elk versus deer, antelope, if even with a perfect hit, it just takes longer for their blood pressure to drop and them to pass out.
Yep.
Like like the size of the wound versus the total amount of the cardiovascular, like the volume of the cardiovascular system.
Yep.
It's just like you can do everything right and they can stand there for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And that's not anything wrong happening. It's just the mechanics or whatever of how long it takes for them to die.
Yep. And just what I want to stay on this just for a little bit longer. Talk to me about dropping them in their tracks. What's that mean to you?
I think it was John Barsness observed all the animals he saw dropped in their tracks. Because wherever, like, their tracks are following them all the way.
Yeah.
As far as something like dropping at the shot, I mean, if you break the spinal cord, they will.
Yep.
If you shoot them in the head, they will.
Yep.
If you shoot them in the lungs, they could.
They could.
But
yeah, you have to cause shock to the central nervous system, and causing shock to unless you've severed the spinal cord or shot them in the head. Shocking the central nervous system will momentarily knock them out. They could drop in their tracks.
Yeah, I've also seen where you can like clip a vertebrae and not do anything that will kill them, and they'll drop, and then all of a sudden they revive,
wake up and run away.
Yeah.
And so if you don't also knock out vitals and cause them normally a combination of suffocating and bleeding to death, they are not going to die. And that's, I think guys have been caught up in this and drop them in their tracks thing. And for me, if I drop them in their tracks, to be fair, my deer last year, he did drop, but I happened to center punch a rib, and it caused a shock wave that went up it's hydrostatic shock when a shock wave travels through a solid, and it knocked out the central nervous system, but it also put a big hole in the lungs and the heart.
Okay, so when it came to, it was already dead.
It was already dead. He was already dead. So, but
I like shooting at the lungs because they're the biggest target.
They're
you
the biggest
most margin
target
for error.
Yep.
Now, I mean, if you're in a specific circumstance where something bad will happen if they do go somewhere, if you've got a goat standing next to a cliff, if you're if you're in a really like a swamp or something, which is not where I hunt, but there are places where if an animal doesn't go down almost where it's standing, you really lose the opportunity to find it.
Yep.
The opposite of an antelope on a prairie.
Yep.
We're like, okay, I can see, make the compromise of the smaller target to increase the chance it goes down right there.
100%.
But no, it's a smaller target.
Yep. And that's what it's like, if guys that want to aim for it, you can never guarantee that you're going to drop an animal in his tracks unless, even if you aim for the spinal cord, it's a hard thing to hit.
Yeah.
you can miss it, right? So I think you can increase your chances of causing shock if you're aiming shoulder, and you're going to get a shock wave that transfers through. Hydraulic shock is if it's that shock wave transferring through tissue and fluids. I think that's harder to do, but possibly if you're aiming high shoulder, like if you could cause shock that way, but the bullet also needs to penetrate through into the lungs.
Well, and I think that I think that shock can knock something down or can knock it out momentarily, but I don't think that shock by itself is doing much in the way of permanent damage.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Like if you hit him in the shoulder, you can knock him down, but if it does not make it through the shoulder, and that's why I advise guys, if you're shooting, if you're a shoulder shooter, like I'd think about a TTSX or something like that, maybe a solid that's going to penetrate. It's not going to make the same size wound channel if you're shooting them in the lungs, but if you're trying to get through shoulders, then possibly think about a different bullet selection. I don't shoot for shoulders. I shoot a lot of burgers. I shoot a lot of Hornadies, and man, I just don't know. Like if I hit shoulders, like things work out, but I'm not aiming for them.
I usually don't aim for them because that's where the meat is.
Mm-hmm. That's another good reason. Yeah,
I mean, match bullets can, particularly the Hornadies that I've been favoring, like they kill stuff fast because they do a lot of damage.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't care whether that damage was something you're going to eat or not.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you try to avoid shooting it in the meat, there's less meat damage.
Yep, definitely. I totally agree. Well, cool. So we kind of beat that up a little bit, but I think this conversation was going to go on for decades longer because we're trying to unlearn guys that have been told a certain thing their whole lives, and I think we continuing to help guys understand that accurate bullet placement with a good bullet is more important than a big bullet with a bunch of energy. That's
sure. And I guess I'll also mention, from when I started hunting in the West till recently, I didn't wound a bunch of stuff, but the amount of undesirable situations shooting stuff has dramatically decreased. Like it used to be like, wow, got away with that. Kind of all regularly. Not every time, but it happened a lot more than I liked.
Oh yeah.
And now I won't say that a rodeo is impossible or never happens, but the percentage of times that it happens has dramatically decreased. I don't really shoot further than I used to. My skills have improved. I have about the same max range I'm willing to consider as I used to. I just have a much higher success rate.
Oh, 100%. It's really interesting because guys that get in the precision rifle, that come out to the match, they place mid-pack-ish somewhere. They hit the 1,000-yard target one time, and then they are like, dude, I'm good on animals to 1,000. And most guys like you, like me, I don't like Phil Vallejo, Zach, all these guys that I would consider pretty high-level shooters. Like, what if you're willing to say, like, where are you really confident distance-wise? Like, where are you really confident that you're going to place the bullet where it belongs, given the wind and that? But
so I don't think of it as a static thing. Right around 600 yards is where I'd really rather not be taking shots. And I tell people all the time that while a competition has really improved my shooting, I have learned how big of targets and how close I can miss them. Because I do it regularly. How often have you, you're shooting a match rifle, you're talking about wind, you've already shot that day, and you have a feel for the wind, and you have a 10-inch target, and you miss it on wind at 400 yards. It happens.
All the time.
Now, I don't feel the need to be, there is no 100% right. But I want to have a high degree of confidence that this is going to go well when I pull the trigger. And 600 is right around where I'm the odds that this doesn't go the way I want it to just start getting a little bit higher than I'm comfortable with.
And a lot of that is when we shoot matches, maybe you have a 2 MOA target at all the different, or a 1.5 MOA, whatever it is. With an animal, it just keeps getting smaller. The target does not stay the same MOA, right? So it's at 600 yards, that it's really funny that you say that because all the guys I talk to, it normally ends up being right about there.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like, man, you get the 700, it's like, man, I miss that target a lot. 800, I like get the wind call wrong a lot. It's 9 and like I'm in the ballpark, but I'm in the ballpark of I just shot it in the guts, and I might have a long day on my hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
I want it to go smooth. I don't like rodeos.
100%.
And the fact that the targets don't get bigger when they're animals.
Yeah.
That's why for my hunter's course, they're all 12-inch targets.
Awesome.
Whether it's at like 200 and some or 700.
Oh, I love it.
It's a 12-inch target.
Awesome.
We've shot it a little bit now with various people, and the somewhere around 450, the successful first round hit rates really drop off.
Oh, I bet, man. It's real funny. Like out at Hidden Valley when we run those matches, like I'm trying to think the most obvious one. So there's an 8-inch target at 500 yards, the target C, and there's a big diamond on the right, and then there's a little circle on the left. It's been there for a while. Mm-hmm. It's an 8-inch circle, and regularly people tell me it's a half MOA target, whatever, like 2.5 inches.
They don't know how to mill stuff.
They don't know how to mill stuff, right? And it's like. They're just the perception. It's an 8-inch circle. That's vitals on a deer. Like I've heard 6 and 8-inch. Like you're trying to keep it in there, right?
Sure.
In reality, it's bigger. But I've heard like people talk about like, especially with like max point blank range. If you're setting here, people talk about 6 or 8-inch, okay, and keeping it there. Well, these guys, it's at 500 yards, and these guys with full blown match rifles can't hit the 8-inch circle with a 20-pound rifle.
You've watched me miss it.
I've missed it. Dude, I practice on that target all the time because it's so difficult, but people have this perception that it's way smaller than it actually is. When you go out there and you know what it's like, you go like a 12-inch plate is giant when it's heavy and you hang the thing. And then you go back there and you look down there. It's like, that's actually pretty small. It's pretty small out there. 700 yards, 12-inch plate, 700 yards. That's pretty darn small.
Yeah. Gets missed a lot.
Yeah. The small one at the 700-yard target at Hidden Valley right now is a 10-inch circle.
Okay.
And man, people missed that thing bad at the last match. I had that troop line out and back.
Mm-hmm.
Like people
and
had
that's
a hard
after
time.
they shot another target at 700.
Yes.
Like they just got 5 data points for what's going on, including feet away from that target.
Yeah.
And then they miss it.
Back to back. Like
yeah.
on a big target, and then they go
with
to
a
that
match
and
rifle,
miss it. Yep.
prone.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Just got what should have been a perfect wind call.
Yeah.
And miss.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just trying to get people's eyes opened up a little bit more that the 1,000 yards and all that stuff is just maybe if you're trying to follow up on a hit animal or something like that, but I'm not trying to start that way.
Yeah. I mean, once something's wounded, the rules of engagement
100%.
are dramatically different.
100%. But the goal is, and I think that I have the same mentality as you, is like, the wind's a little sketchy, I'm just going to get closer, and it's going to give me way more of a buffer of forgiveness or a wind. My wind bracket's going to go from whatever, maybe this to down to this, just because I got closer. It's
right.
The same. The wind's still
while
have
the
its
target
effect.
size grew.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's great. More testing. I'm just going to jump into some of the things I know about you. You've done a ton of drop testing. I think you've posted some of it on Rockslide.
Drop testing as far as like dropping
scope testing,
zero retention. Yeah.
Yep. Can you tell me about that? Like, how'd you get into that? What's your how close do you follow that, or how much did that come from you? Just tell me a little bit about that.
I don't think much of it came from me, but like I was chatting with Form about it, I think in around 2013.
Nice.
Going back and looked at the messages.
Pretty early.
My interest in it came from I had 4 when I was spending a lot more days hunting than I do now. I had 4 hunting seasons in a row. Where at the end of hunting season, I went to the range. My rifle was 2 inches or more off of its zero. And if, like I was, you want to be confident engaging stuff at 400, 500 yards, that doesn't work.
No.
Like
2 MOA, yeah.
Yeah, 2 MOA. Like you are 8 inches off of the center.
Yeah.
Like that means you could do everything perfect and miss a 16-inch target at 400 yards.
Yep.
Like it is a big problem.
Yep.
And I got kind of fanatical about it and started dropping stuff and breaking stuff and talk with other people who were doing the same.
Yeah.
And started finding some stuff that works. But yeah, I got real picky about my mounts, about my scopes, about assembly, and about regularly zeroing and tracking whether or not stuff was staying where I left it.
Yeah, yeah. So not everybody's read on Rockslide. There's a lot of information on there and a bunch of scopes that have been tested.
Yeah.
But kind of just run us through the drop test that you do. What's your standard drop test?
I mean, I've followed the one that they lay out there a little bit. I don't, I'm not tossing my stuff on the ground all the time,
Yep.
but I'll do it to proof something out.
Yep.
But their test is, on not concrete. That was when I started, I was doing it on concrete.
Oh, wow.
That breaks stuff.
Wow. I bet.
Don't do that. You need a little bit of give.
Yeah.
But on like normal dirt, put like a shooting mat down and
Like a little thin foamy
yeah,
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like a shooting mat,
Yeah.
or sometimes I think they do too, and drop it on like each side at 18 inches once, taking a shot each time.
Okay.
Then 36 inches once, taking a shot each time, and then like
Left, right, and
left, right,
straight upside down.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
And then finally 36 inches 3 times per side.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I'm not trying to document and prove out a scope for
Yep.
everybody else the way that they are. So, I'm not quite as particular about following a,
Yeah.
I'll take it and just like basically drop it from waist height a couple times aside. And if it's right
Hold
where I
it
left
zero.
it, great,
Awesome.
super.
Nice.
And when you do it on dirt with a mat down, like pretty anything you would actually want to use isn't breaking anymore.
Nice.
Um,
What would you say was like how much is the other parts of it, not just the scope, a contributing factor? Rings, rail, how the rail's mounted to the
links in a chain,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like if anything lets go, it stops working.
Yep.
I like bighorns for my match rifles.
Yep.
But I've also, doing that, popped, like, I'm fanatical to the point where I glue all my rails on. Like, they're pinned and they have screws, and then I epoxy them on without release agent. Like, that's my standard way to mount a rail, is to glue it on so you can't take it off.
What kind of epoxy? You just throw it out there?
I'm not super picky. I've used DevCon 10-110 is a great one.
Okay.
I've done some with JB Quick because I'm impatient.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to take this out right now.
I've got JV Quick right here. I use it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not too picky about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, doing that test, I've had it where I thought a scope lost zero, and when I take the scope off, the rail is loose.
Oh, wow.
Even doing all of that.
Wow.
I will say the lighter a rifle is, I think the less force that it's experiencing when it impacts.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So a light hunting rifle is actually much easier on a scope and a mounting system than a match rifle would be.
Gotcha.
I don't actually recommend dropping your match
I
rifle.
know that's why I've never done it with my match rifle, but
And you can find other things you can break. Like I would take the bolt out. You can break a bolt handle
interesting.
doing that. Not that I would know.
Yeah. I imagine you've had some good phone calls with manufacturers.
Usually email for
Oh,
email.
nice. I called Bullet
Can I
Central.
please get one of these?
I called Bullet Central today about my sears on my, because when I was taking my bolt apart with the Nipex pliers, well, then that transferred to the sear on, and I run Taxport Pro triggers.
Okay.
So fortunately, it's very easy just to get a new sear and put a new sear in there. But I called them today, and I just yeah, man, I'm an idiot, and he got a good laugh out of me. I was just did not give me a discount. I was hoping his laugh would give me a discount. I didn't get a discount, but
yeah, if I break something like that, I pay for it.
yeah, for sure.
Not gonna be like, I came up with this random test for your equipment you never intended and broke it.
Oh yeah,
you need to replace this, sir.
Yeah, by no means am I blaming them for my stupidity. Yeah, that's sometimes they might take mercy on you and give you a little discount to help you out. But
pay your money and take your chances, like everything else in life.
For sure. So with that drop testing, you're obviously tracking zeros.
Yeah.
You talked about that. Will you tell me about you went on I don't know how long it went, but you did a run of every time you went to the range, you did 10 shot zero tracking.
Yep.
Can you tell me about that test?
Yeah, I mean, nothing crazy. I just had a standard target that I printed out, and every time I'd go to the range, I'd for a while I had two targets, and I'd do like a cold bore or sometimes a
Mm-hmm.
cold 3, and then shoot a 10 shot to see if
Okay.
they were different, and they weren't.
Hmm.
So I stopped testing it separately.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd just shoot like a 10 shot group every time I went to see if the point of impact was the same and how consistent the accuracy was. A few things motivated that early on in my shooting career. I noticed like I'd take a gun to the range and it'd shoot great, and then the next time I'd take it and it didn't shoot great,
Mm.
and that happened a lot. But I was shooting like 3 or 5 shot groups,
Mm.
and I realized eventually I was just seeing noise.
Mm.
Once I got up to 10 shots, that noise stabilized a lot. Like
Nice.
it went away a lot.
Nice.
If you want it even more consistent, I do think higher round count groups will give you more consistent results, but the juice isn't worth the squeeze
Yeah.
of spending all the ammo for me. Like if I don't need to prove it,
Yeah.
like it's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You've tested enough to know that it's like I don't need to shoot a 30 shot group. I'd rather
Right.
go do some positional practice
Right.
with that ammo.
Well,
just,
yeah, and like okay, I can if something really changes, it's enough to see it.
Yep.
So yeah, I did that a bunch with a bunch of rifles for like a couple of years.
That's what I was getting at. Like you're kind of making light of it because it takes an extreme amount of diligence to do what you did, and that's what I appreciate about the testing that you did because you didn't just you weren't going with one rifle either. It was every time you went to the range.
Every time I went to the rifle, every rifle I brought.
With every rifle you brought, exactly.
Yeah.
And so did you see just with that, like obviously you got a really good understanding that when people say that their gun shoots quarter MOA all day as long as they do their part, that's pretty unlikely for 10 shot groups, right? But then you found other interesting.
Maybe somebody's doing amazing, and I
Maybe.
just haven't
Maybe
ran into
I
them
don't
in
see it.
person.
All my match rifles shoot about 3/4 MOA. I would say.
For like, yeah, non-bench rest rifles, honestly, Pat Sinclair's posted some of the most accurate stuff I've seen.
Really?
Like, basically, like full bench rest level results.
Really?
I don't get them. I'm not even that I'm not interested in working hard to get much better than my guns are shooting.
Yeah.
Because like I don't think it's a good use of my time.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I'd get a lot of positive result out of them shooting better than they already do.
For sure.
And I shoot enough stuff that I just don't want to mess with it.
One of the interesting things that I've learned from you, you seem to keep pulling stuff out of your process.
Yeah.
And if you get the same results, that's a step you don't need to waste time on anymore.
Right.
Well, I've done the same thing. Like I load on this thing and I start with dirt or with just clean. I run it through the rotary tumbler. Got that from you as well.
Okay.
But I start with a fired piece of brass with a primer in it, and I eject the primer, size it, mandrel the next, dump powder, seat bullet. It's all just in one thing, and that's what I've been shooting matches with for years now. And it's the same with you. I feel like we've just kind of
my process is a little different, but it's pretty simple. Like I don't want to spend a lot of time loading ammo. It's pretty streamlined and dialed in at this point. It doesn't have a ton of steps.
Doesn't have a lot of steps.
No.
When's the last time? Because you used to turn necks. When's the last time you turned necks?
I turned some necks from a 22 BR because the reamer was too tight. But not for accuracy. I turned it for function.
You had to make a little room there.
Yeah. In fact, I'd sold or given away my neck turner in hopes of never turning necks again, and then I had to borrow somebody else's who I think felt the same.
Nice, yeah. And then like touching primer pockets and some of the like never, right? Never. You never touch it. And so there's my point. I hear a lot of guys get caught up in this.
Sure.
And I keep telling it's like that doesn't matter. You can't shoot well enough to see the difference, and it doesn't matter. And it likely does not give any accuracy increase.
Yeah.
I did see you pick up a kneeler this weekend.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do with that.
Are we going to add that back into the process?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I saw that and I was like, oh, Carl's going to start annealing because
I don't think
I've stopped annealing in the last 2 years. I'm just sick of I'm using a flame annealing. I don't even know that it was actually annealing, but it kind of makes you feel good to watch it go, but it just was a waste of time.
It started making me feel worse because I didn't think it was doing it consistently.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I've seen, like, Litz did a pretty good test, checking in on whether he got any accuracy or velocity spread difference, and found nothing over 10, running through 10 firings.
Wow.
With no firing versus annealing it, or with no annealing versus annealing every time.
Nice.
But I don't know, switching a lot of brass from one chamber to another, could be nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. Might find a new home for it. We'll just see.
Nice. What's great about I love helping guys out, and like if anybody needs to borrow something from me, come over and borrow it. I haven't used that annealer over there. It's a Mike's bench rest, Mike's reloading bench, whatever that is. Annealer. I haven't used it for 2 or 3 years. I've still got buddies that come over. It makes them feel good. They use. You guys are welcome.
Sure.
Come on over, use a thing. I haven't touched it. I'm still having decent success unless I use Nipex pliers.
I need to find a friend who wants it.
Nice.
I can go borrow it.
There you go. That's perfect. Yeah. Nice. No, that's awesome. Well, cool. Any other testing that you've been doing recently?
Been doing a barrel cleaning test.
Oh, talk to me about that. Where are we at?
Yeah. So, my current 6-dasher match barrel. I think you would agree. There's no consensus in the precision rifle world of what cleaning you should do.
Nope.
Like, there is a wide range. Like, almost every single opinion you could have, somebody has who is doing it at a high level.
100%.
And so I just decided that I was going to do a test with my dasher barrel and see what happened if I didn't clean it at all.
Nice.
So I set aside 2,000 rounds worth of the same components. I had to switch bullet lots in the middle. And I've got my loading process dialed into the point I'm very comfortable that it's super consistent now. And I'm doing 4 5-shot groups and overlaying them electronically to make a 20-shot group.
Cool. And
recording all the velocity data with a Garmin. Cool. And just basically between every match, I'm shooting a 20-shot group.
Awesome.
And recording the size of the group, the velocity spread, like all the pertinent data.
Awesome.
And
how many rounds are you at now?
12 or 1,300.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you? This is subjective and it's down the barrel. What would you expect barrel life on a dasher?
I usually stop using one around 2,000 rounds because I don't expect it shot out yet.
Yeah.
Like, barrel life is a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah.
But, I don't want it to. I want to stop using it for matches before it really starts degrading.
Yep.
For our purposes.
Yeah.
It would have, for like short range bench rest. I know some of those guys retiring 6 PPCs at like 700 rounds.
Wow.
But I can't tell you how to win a bench rest match because I can't do it.
No idea.
And I'm not going to find out.
Yeah.
But so I'm planning on basically doing this test for the match, or the length of time I would use the barrel for the match, or until it proves that it's not doing the same as it used to.
Gotcha.
And then it's my match barrel. I'm not just going to have it shoot terrible for 700 rounds.
Yeah.
If it really seems like it's not behaving, I'm going to clean it and see if it starts behaving again.
So, was there any break-in process on the barrel?
Well, I mean, I
did you
shot
clean
1,200 rounds.
Did you clean it ever at the beginning?
I think I ran like a patch of alcohol down it before I shot it.
That's it.
Yeah.
No. Shoot one, clean one. Shoot 3, clean.
There's not been a rod down the barrel since shot 1.
And have you performed well at matches with it?
Yeah.
How many? Yeah. Okay. He's won a bunch of trophies with it. Like you've shot really well.
Yeah. So, I won the WPR championship with it.
Yep. Awesome. So that's where it's this is it just I think it legitimizes the test a little bit. It's not like you're just going out there and
Yeah, no, it's
you're crushing with it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's doing good enough.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it's again for me, I lean towards cleaning a little bit more often.
Yeah.
That came from a bear hunt I was on. It was a 6.5 PRC. I think far more prone to carbon ring than a little dasher or a BRX like mine. But I haven't had a carbon ring in a 6.5 PRC since. But on that particular hunt, I was on a bear hunt and I went to load around and the round didn't go in. And I ended up getting a stick and jamming it down there and I broke out a bunch of carbon and then I got the round in and then I shot the bear. But then I'm like, oh, well, man, it's like not that hard to clean. So I'm just going to clean the thing to try and avoid a carbon ring.
Sure.
So I clean a little bit more often.
Yeah.
I do it on my match rifles. I don't think that they're as dirty as like some of the other calibers that I shoot. Like my BRX is just pretty darn clean. Mm-hmm. I've been shooting Hawk Hill barrels. I still have 2 in the safe.
Okay.
Once those are gone, then we have to come up with something else. But I just don't have issues with those. But again, like I think it is such a subjective thing. There's some mystery and magic involved in the things.
Yeah, and like I'm not trying to sell anybody. I'm not cleaning their gun. I wasn't even trying to sell myself. I'm playing my favorite game. Let's find out.
Yeah, I love it, dude. I love it.
Or it reminds me of a Mark Rifto quote. Do you know Mark Rifto?
No.
He's a powerlifting coach.
Okay.
When somebody was asking him questions, he's like, why don't you focus on getting your deadlift up to 500 pounds? By that time, you'll have your own opinions and you won't have to borrow mine.
Nice.
Like, just go out there and try stuff and see what works.
Yep.
The more experience you get, the more value your experiments will have.
100%.
Because you'll have a lot fewer confounding factors for things.
It's really funny. I have a thing I tell people. I don't think everybody or very many people listen to me, but people ask me a lot of questions on all this rifle stuff, right?
Yeah.
And my normal advice is go buy a Ruger American, something like that, and shoot the barrel out in a year. In a year from now, you'll be able to answer all these questions that you're answering me, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's like you're going to struggle with you're going to go through some of the stupid things that I did and some of the dumb things that you did, but after 5,000 rounds a year, you're going to have you're not going to have all the answers, but you're going to have like all the basic questions that they're asking. They're going to be able to answer all those for themselves through that experience that they just gained of actually shooting instead of wasting all the time. Like I feel like they're just giving up time. Our time on Earth is infinite or finite. Sorry, not infinite. It's finite. And man, just get to it. Go start shooting. And but that's
I mean, now study. Plenty.
100%.
Like
100%.
I've learned so much from other people, but when you get to something where it's like I can't find the answer, well, see if you can find the answer.
Yep.
And I try to that test is a pain.
Yeah.
I don't it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And because it's a lot of work and because it's something there doesn't seem like a consensus on, there's not going to be a consensus. Nope. Probably ever, but I figured I'd at least, since I was going to the trouble to do all the documentation, I'd at least share it.
Yeah, it's great. So, I think it's awesome. And at the end of the day, like one barrel can act differently from other barrels. Like,
well, and like this 6.5 or this 6 Creedmoor, I don't know if you remember, you weren't at Seth's match last year, but like it had a real issue, and we're like its point of impact seemed to change significantly, and its accuracy dropped significantly.
Wow.
And I dropped like 20 or 22 points in 3 stages with it.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Re-zeroed it, or went to check 0. It was noticeably off. Cleaned it. The group shrunk some. The 0 started moving around. Did much better day 2. But then I took it home and I really cleaned it, and it started like behaving again. So I don't think that there are no situations in which cleaning can benefit a centerfire. Yep. I wasn't doing a careful test there.
Yeah.
But anecdotally, that out of 1, that gun did much better after I cleaned it. And so, yeah. Just trying to get more data.
No, for sure, man. It's really funny. Me and my brother bought Kimber Montanas in 270. This is years ago, but we bought just identical rifles, and we're like, "These would be great. Hopefully, we can like work up a load." We were doing 600-yard ladder tests where we'd shoot one round, walk down there and mark it, walk back, shoot another round. Right?
Yeah.
My gun,
What fun!
Oh, it's so fun! It was when I still live in California. We're out in the
Okay.
desert. It was in man, it was just outside of Palm Desert. We're out in the desert. It was so hot. We did it in the middle of summer. It was so dumb. We walked a lot that day. But what was crazy is like two identical guns, and my gun did great. It shot straight through the whole group. My brother's gun, after we because we zeroed it at 100 and then we like got it on the paper, it must have been 10 shots or something. That thing went haywire. There was no ladder test happening that day with his gun, and we cleaned it, and then it would shoot great for about 10 shots. And for the life of that gun, it would make it about 10 shots before it would copper foul up and
Yeah.
shotgun patterns.
It sounds like a great candidate for a different barrel.
That's exactly, and that's
Like,
where it's like.
If I had a barrel that did that, I'd never even find out.
Yeah, dude. We
Like,
we were
I'd
young
throw it
in
away
it.
before I ever found out.
That's what we should have done, and I like it. My brother was long suffering with it, and usually he still killed some animals with it, but it was very frustrating that it would just copper foul. I didn't have bore scope at that time to go and look and see what was happening, but it would copper foul.
Yeah.
And it would throw things wildly, but it would shoot good for 10 rounds when it was clean. It was interesting. Super frustrating. Yeah. Well, I've kept you on here for a long time. Two last questions. You do a lot of training for tactic on your hat you're wearing.
Yes, I do training for tactic.
If guys are interested in getting some training from you, how can they contact you?
I would say go onto Tactics website, find their email them, and say, "Hey, want to train with Carl?"
Nice.
It is good training. It is not cheap training.
Yep. But it's
not for everybody, but it's
you do one-on-ones.
It's almost all one-on-one.
Okay.
Or you can bring a guest, but it is not a group class.
Awesome.
It is you are pulling me from my regular job to come do this just with you. You get me. I will answer. I'll pretty much take you down whatever road you want to go. Like we've got some classes with curriculum, or it can just be whatever you are interested in.
Yep. And you're going to get trained, I'll tell you guys, from one of the absolute best shooters in the country, especially our area. So yeah, if guys are looking in whether competition or hunting, or what is it typically?
Yeah, we have a one of the programs is long range, so it's I use my comp rifles more.
Okay.
One of them is a hunter's prep course, so it's a little bit different focus.
Okay.
There's a lot of overlap with them, and those are both with my equipment where you come and shoot my stuff.
Cool.
So when you come into a training and you shoot my stuff, all the stuff works already.
Yep.
If we will also do it where you bring your own equipment, but about half the class becomes me helping you set up that equipment,
making it work.
Yeah, you get a lot less actual shooting in.
Gotcha.
On that class by necessity.
Yep, for sure. But
there's
you're helping them understand their process, so that their equipment, so hopefully they could do that for themselves in the future.
Yeah, and we also like if you just want your equipment set up, we do that too, separate from a training.
Cool, awesome.
So
that's great. And then for the guys that are watching and listening that are interested in just getting better with a rifle, what? And this is going to be a gear related question. What rifle scope caliber would you recommend for them? Just when they're really starting down this precision rifle journey, what would you recommend for them?
Hunting or competition?
I'm going to go with hunting on this one.
Hunting on this one? Yep. Probably. And are we going to assume they're not already a reloader?
I would assume not a reloader. Yeah.
Okay.
I think guys that are just kind of taking that first step, right? And it's like it can be a steep learning curve. So let's go factory ammo. I think would be the best.
So I'm probably going to point people at a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Okay.
Because you get there's a ton of options for decent quality, not crazy priced ammo. Like pretty much everywhere it's acceptable to hunt with the Creedmoor.
Yeah.
Like, depending on your application, like if you show up with a 22 ARC that I might shoot, you might get some people that don't want to take you out to shoot an animal with the 20. You don't want to have to also try to get them to see terminal ballistics the same way that I do.
Yep. Yeah. For sure. For
to
sure.
go hunting. So usually the 6.5 Creedmoor is enough that people won't.
It's acceptable. Yeah.
It's acceptable. Yeah. Like not a crazy amount of recoil, long enough barrel life. Everything just works well together because like I really like my 243 Tika, but to get the most out of it, you have to make your own ammo.
Yep.
You can't buy the good stuff.
For sure.
So, if we want to stay at a reasonable price point and quality, I'd consider like a Tika UPR.
Yep.
Because you get a fiberglass, like a decent
That's that tan stock one.
It's the tan stock one.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
You get a CTR mag, so it's a nice magazine.
It comes with a CTR, a 10
comes with a
round
CTR. Yep.
Nice. That's awesome.
Get a decent fiberglass stock with it.
Yep.
Not terrible ergonomics. It actually, the cheek piece is adjustable.
Cool.
On it. And they come threaded. You can get them in
cool.
20 or 24. If I was going to run suppressed, I'd start with a 20.
Yep.
And they work. Like
Yep.
we did one event where Brett brought 6 of them, and I had to dial them all in, and they shoot.
They all shot.
Like they work.
That's awesome. And then you have a donor action that you could possibly build a custom on in the future if you're interested.
Yeah, like I don't think Tikas are the end all be all, but when you consider the features versus the price point and the quality, like give you a lot.
For sure.
So
For sure. Then scope. Scope's the big one.
Scope's the big one.
I think a lot of people discount. They think they want a sweet looking gun, and then the scope's an afterthought. What scope would you go with?
I'm liking this Maven. Those are popular over on Rockslide. That's the Maven 1.2 RS or RS 1.2.
Awesome.
I would point someone towards Mills. Like Mills and MOA both work.
Yep.
Everywhere that I can see the advantage, it lands on Mills.
Yep.
Other than that, you might have to relearn how you're thinking about it. But if you're going to get into this, it's worth it to stop thinking in inches per 100 yards.
Yep.
And just think in angular measurements.
100%.
The Night Forces are great. They are a little bit higher price point. They started making the first focal plane SHV with the Mill XT.
Oh, cool.
So now that's like a $1,300 scope that like has the features and probably works correctly.
Cool.
Which is real similar in price point to this. Yeah. Yeah. Like it is unfortunate for how obvious it seems like a scope should work that a bunch of them don't.
Yep.
Back when I had a bunch of hunting weight loopholes.
Yep.
That was when I started getting fanatical about things holding zero.
Yeah.
Like every one of them, it seemed like adjusted in different amounts.
Wow.
Like, oh, this one moves about 1/3 of an inch per click. This one moves about 1/6 of an inch per click.
Wow.
Like I had to custom map all of them.
Wow.
And then of course they weren't doing it as consistently as I really wanted them to.
For sure.
Either. So yeah, just having stuff that works how it's supposed to.
Nice. And that Maven comes with a good reticle in there?
Yeah, I like the reticle that it comes with, specifically for hunting.
Nice.
Although if I had to shoot a match with it, I could.
Yeah.
But I think it particularly is nice for hunting.
So if guys are leaning towards a rifle that they could possibly use for NRL hunter, maybe think about that SHV or maybe an NX8 with a Mill XT or Mill C.
Yep. I prefer the Mill C, but you can't get the SHV in it, which is their lowest price point scope that
Gotcha.
I want a first focal plane scope. Like
Yep.
first focal plane versus second focal. I'm always going first.
Yep.
Unless it's fixed.
Yep.
And then I don't care.
Yeah, for sure.
And that SHV is the first scope in their lineup price point wise that you can get first focal plane.
Awesome. That's good to know because the NX8's pretty high price scope for guys, and having a scope that does all the things, performs correctly, is first focal plane, and has a reticle that I can recommend that seems like a pretty good price point with that SHV.
These are $1,200.
Okay.
I think they're actually available now. For a while you can get them.
Nice.
Because the demand exceeded what they ordered.
Oh, gotcha.
And still the SWFA scopes, like the ones I have used a bunch in the past, I don't have a ton right now, but I've used a bunch in the past. And if you are price sensitive, that is the cheapest scope that I know of that has the features and works.
Nice. That's awesome. Do they have a good reticle? Or are they just like simple
bad.
mill dots? Is it?
It's basically a mill dot with half mil hashes.
Oh, cool. Gotcha.
So
nice. Nice. So if you're thinking about wanting to do inter hunter, I would recommend probably going with that night force because then you have 2/10 mark, so you can hold every 10
2/10 is. I strongly prefer 2/10 for competition.
Yep.
Like I can get away with 0.5, but I strongly prefer 2/10
Yeah.
for competition with the size that our targets have gotten.
Yep.
And being able to just hold really hard without spending extra brain function thinking
Trying
about
to
it.
break up a half into
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It lets you be more relaxed
Yep.
and confident
For sure.
quickly.
For sure. Well, cool. I like it. That's 6.5 Creedmoor is what I push a lot of people to. It's a great round for all the reasons that you said. Really well designed. Bucks win well, not high recoiling, and they kill critters like crazy. Ryan Avery's killed some stuff a long ways away with a 6.5 Creedmoor. I've seen him documented over the. Oh yeah, he's
I've either been there or myself shot a lot with 6.5s.
Yep.
Creedmoor or other. I've never shot something with a 6.5 Creedmoor myself. Been there for a bunch.
Yep.
And a 6.5 PRC. Myself, it was mostly a 6.5 47.
Nice.
But I mean, it's the same bullet.
Same thing. Yeah.
Different launch velocity.
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, impact velocity is the most important thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what bullet and impact velocity are what the terms that I now think in for what's appropriate.
100%. 100%.
So
well, cool, man. We went dang near 2 hours. That was a solid podcast. It goes fast. We do this often together. Every time we get together, we
it was like if there's always a point where we're like, okay, we have to go get some work done.
We have to go work now. Yeah. I wire Carl's houses for him, and we get distracted on occasion.
It happens.
So,
it's all right.
Yeah. So hit him up if you guys want some training. And are you on socials answering questions for guys?
I have an Instagram account.
Can we tag you?
Sure. I think I have like 48 followers and 0 posts.
All right.
But it is open, so you could message me there.
Let's start.
Carl.d.ross.
Awesome.
You can reach me there.
Perfect. You're going to get a really well thought out response most likely from him, where I'm going to be more bossy and just tell you what to do probably. So
yeah, depends. If the volume increases, the verbiage may decrease.
Yeah, for sure.
The word count.
Yeah. You're concise and thorough, where my vocabulary is more. You're going to get some F-bombs and that stuff from me probably. So well, cool, man. I appreciate you coming over doing a podcast.
Absolutely,
appreciate you. Yeah, right on.